Kiss.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, take all of our idols out with us, right? Right. Second stage, the bands who inspired the Big Four. I don't know. I agree with him. I don't know. We'll take Van Halen.
Yeah, great band, Testament, Exodus, all of the above. There's so many, Death Angel, there's so many great bands out there.
You know, I was thinking last night, and Frank was already on his way up here, but we were standing on the side of the stage getting ready to do our jam, and it really hit me that, because all of us started out in little clubs, some not any bigger than this room, and that was where we started that thing, and to stand on the stage last night in front of all those people and realize, man, here's 4 bands who all play the same kind of music that we all like together, right? That because sometimes you go and there's a bill and you're like, well, I like the first band, the second band I don't like at all. I'm going to go get a beer or take a leak or something, And then the third band is great, and the headliner, I get a little bored, I'm going to get out of here and beat the traffic, right? I mean, how often does that happen at like kind of a concert or a festival billing? But I was standing there last night just going, man, this is amazing that 4 bands all came together and out of the same point in time. I was thinking, like, if you did, when I got to LA, the whole LA thing was happening. So I'm thinking, out of that, who could it be? It would be like Motley, Wasp, and Rat.
All of that time.
Almost all of which don't exist, half of those bands, or in some carnation of them, you know what I mean? Or if you take, I don't know, I mean, we can take Guns N' Roses and LA Guns and 2 other bands that have guns in their name or something, I don't know, Guns N' Roses certainly being the biggest, in my opinion, the best, but my favorite, I should say, but you know what I mean? So it's interesting that out of genres that happen and movements and groundswells and things that happen, it's like we're very, very blessed that we're still here to talk about it, and we can still kind of even play those songs reasonably well.
Yeah, we get
the next one aren't too bad.
And that's what's great about these crowds that we're facing. You see these huge, massive crowds, and it's great. Metallica brings a lot of the people in, which is great, along with us, which is great. But everybody gets the whole package. I think everybody in the crowd gets the package. Like you say, the first band, the second band, the third band. I think it just grows. It just, wow. What's next? Every band has a different player in it that everybody likes. For me, I watch on the side of the stage every band. Even after I'm done, I dry off. I watch you guys. I watch Slayer. There's always something different about each band every night. And that's what I love about these bands. This package is rocking.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
So, like, you guys are in obviously pretty big bands. Did you ever feel like, a record's going to sell like millions of copies? Did you ever feel pressure when you're going in to the studio to record or to write something for a new album that, you're going to have millions of bass players or millions of musicians scrutinizing what you're doing, especially if you're doing covers of songs like Sabbath Bloody Sabbath? Did you ever feel pressured to, that you had to come up with something that was good enough? Or did you
I think initially, for all of us, it seemed like we were really into shredding and playing. You got to remember, I think for our genre, we were the first generation in the history of the world that owned a heavy metal record and a punk rock record, because those were 2 scenes that did not exist together at all, right? So we owned a Kiss and a Sabbath record, but we also had a Ramones and a Sex Pistols record, and that convergence ultimately created thrash metal, right? So we were really into playing and ripping, and guys, me and Frank growing up, we had guys like the Jaco Pastoriuses and these Stanley Clarks and these really like shreddy bass players, but they were out of genre. They weren't part of our genre. So for, I think probably for us and Cliff Burton and those of us that were creating this style of bass playing, it was a really fun time because we could be into the metal we liked, but we could go out of genre and borrow from classical music and jazz music and all these other things and pull that in. And I think when you tap into other genres, you have an unlimited well of material and resources to go to. So sometimes going out of genre can really be of great advantage for your own type of playing.
That's why I don't believe in listening to one type of music. I really don't think that's good for anybody. You have to open your horizons to everything and let everybody come into the computer and put everything, now I'll say the computer, of course, used to be a sponge, but now it's a computer, and just let everything download into your brain, and let me tell you something, your playing will reflect that. You won't have a choice. It'll just be in you, and it'll come out. Like, if you listen to the guys like Jaco, stuff like that, even the Geddy Lee on the other side, it's just, there's different genres of music, man. All of a sudden, you find yourself playing this lick in your song that came from that. And that's just the way it works.
And I'll tell you, sometimes a lot of my bass parts, I write them on guitar first. Like, I'll sit down and I'll play guitar, and all of a sudden I go, that'd be kind of a rad bass line, you know what I mean? And even some of the Megadeth songs, like Battle. Starts as like a guitar riff, you know, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what, start the song with that as the bass part, you know, and all of a sudden,
Well, was that song, was that a guitar for us? Did you learn that on guitar?
that was, yeah, it was essentially a guitar riff that became a bass riff.
See, I think that's great.
Yeah, and so sometimes, that's another thing too, is sometimes, I know for me, I learned, took up bass, well, first it was that horrendous World of Tour